Welcome back to the Scoreboard XFL Week 6, second half of the season. So it's crunch time, and it looks like it's gonna be crunch time because the North has suddenly become competitive. The South, not so much, but the North seems to be we're in for an exciting second half of the season. So, Smokey, how you doing?
Oh, I'm good. I'm better than Orlando Guardians fans, and I really thought about putting your team in this and saying the Battlehawks.
No.
But they still have a shot at that division, even though, like you said, that division is amazing. Like the Vipers are just out. Like they're just the odd man out here. There's no way they're winning that division with the Dragons, the Battlehawks, and the Defenders all in there with them. But on the other side of the board, I think it's wide open. The Roughnecks are not as good as everyone thought they were. The only team that really doesn't have a shot anymore would be the Guardians, I suspect. But the Renegades and even the Brahmas, if they just started winning somehow, could eventually take that division or at least make it to the playoffs. But yep, tough division, and the Guardians suck.
True. The Roughnecks are currently running the gauntlet of the North. They're playing Seattle, DC, and St. Louis back-to-back weeks. So that's the window where the South opens up. Mm-hmm. It's possible. Nothing we expected. We didn't think it would come to this, but apparently that's where we are. So let's go into Week 6, and we're starting off with, well, you mentioned the Guardians already. They're hosting the Seattle Sea Dragons.
Yeah.
This week.
Yeah, and I mean, isn't it obvious they have no shot here? The Dragons have been good. Like, they've been really good. I know DiNucci loves interceptions. Like, this guy can throw interceptions like nobody else, but he always plays well enough to get the win, and that is a phenomenal offense for this league. The defense is not great. There's nothing special. They did play the best defense in the entire league and got the win over them, so I have to give them that nod. Morgan Ellison is a great running back. Ja'Cour Pearson. We didn't even need Josh Gordon to win this game. I think he only had like one reception again. Yeah. Yep. No, 2 receptions for 15 yards. So they're doing it without Josh Gordon. Ja'Cour Pearson is still the number 1 wide receiver in the league, so it doesn't need it necessarily, but they always have that weapon there if they do. On the other side, the Guardians are still bad, as I mentioned, but that was a shootout, and they were able to put up points, so I don't think the offense is all that bad. But they were playing one of the worst defenses in the league. Also, Quentin Dormady was back. They went and signed Quentin Flowers the week before, which would make you think that maybe he was the one taking over there. Paxton Lynch was out early in the game. Wasn't doing great when he was in there, but he wasn't necessarily bad. But Quentin Dormady played good. He played good for the position. It's just the team is so bad that they couldn't pull off the win against the second worst team in the league. Tyrell Buckley is still mad. Cody Latimer is still the tight end to watch in this league. There is no doubt about that. But as far as this, there is no way that the Sea Dragons are not going to win this.
Oh, it was an entertaining game, at least, with the Vipers.
Mm-hmm.
See, but suddenly the Guardians have life in them, and I'm going to ask you this because I'm debating taking a risk on this one. I'm going to ask you first, though, what are our standings? How are the points looking?
Oh yeah. We both had 2 last week. We split them. I had the Sea Dragons. We both picked the Battlehawks, which we lost that one. Should have went with my first thought there. I had the Vipers, and so did you, and you had the Renegades, and I had the Brahmas. So that's how we split it. We got 2 points each, bringing our total, if I can get back to the page, 14-13.
Man, I picked Houston, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunate. So that means, even though I want to, because it will happen this season, and mark my words, I want to pick this upset. I'm not going to do it just this week. I will do it. I promise I will pick him at one point. Not this week, though, because I still have that point to make up. It feels like it could be the upset game, but can't risk it. If Dormady starts, He's been looking good.
Yeah.
If they can score 32 again. Now they're into to finally start winning games, but too much of a risk, can't do it. Taking the Sea Dragons because they're the more established team, but Danucci's looking good. They've proven to be able to win, and they should be smelling blood now because suddenly that 2 seed in the North is open. Them and the Battlehawks are now on equal record, so we assumed it would be a 2-horse race. Now suddenly the Sea Dragons are back in it, so they're going to seize this opportunity and they're going to win at Orlando. Speaking of the Battlehawks, playing at your Vipers.
The 2-loss Battlehawks here, so Vipers, we might have a shot here. We just might. AJ McCarron looked phenomenal in that game, and there was one big play where he kind of blew it, but he's still a great quarterback for this league. Many would say the best in this league, and there's not much debate about it. On the other side, Luis Perez is the quarterback that should be playing, and he proved it this past week. Now, you can say that it's the Orlando Guardians' bad defense is the reason he looked so good, and I won't give you too much pushback on that, but I think he's better than Hundley. I mean, he's better than the other option there, the $200,000 man. So Brian Hill looked great. Hakeem Butler looked great. Anthony Betts got this team running good. I want to go with that hookup of Luis Perez and Jeff Bidet. I really do, because they're in Vegas, but that hasn't been an advantage. I believe all the games in Vegas so far, they were. Actually, we didn't get a rain game this past week, so there is that. Gmo Allison was playing well. I can't do it, though. I'm going to stick with the St. Louis Battlehawks on the road.
I'll say this, like, the biggest disadvantage for the Battlehawks in this one is going to be the transition from just NFL quality, stadium, field, everything, to, like, low-budget middle school football team.
Yeah.
Circumstances in Vegas. Because they've played two games in luxury now. Let's see if they can adapt, or if it's going to be like a mud fest and the Vipers get one over them. I'm going to pick the Battlehawks, of course. Important because the Sea Dragons do play at Orlando. They're expected to win. They play before them, so they'll know the result, and they're going to have to win. I'm pretty sure they'll be put under pressure by the Sea Dragons to win, and I'm betting on AJ McCarron to be able to pull it off. Now the game against the 2 games against the Defenders. The first one, okay, it is what it is. The second one, that was nonsense in many different ways. So number one, week 5, they threw as many flags on the Battlehawks as they did the entire season up until that point. A lot of them very important. Now, this is one thing I don't like about the XFL compared to the NFL. Generally speaking, we say the officiating process is much more transparent. We like it better, the way they do reviews. The way the officials talk to each other, everything is shown on TV. They don't show replays of penalties. Or very rarely do. PIs, holding, especially offensive holdings, they don't show the replays. Where in the NFL, you get a replay of every single play. Because the official review takes so long, they have to fill in the time. But in the XFL, that actually means you don't get to see the plays. Again, and I don't like that, because that would give a little bit more insight on what's actually going on there, because it seems very, very weird they suddenly commit so many penalties, or was the officiating crew just particularly harsh that day, which would be interesting to see the replay from that. So unfortunately we don't get it, but at the end of the day, of course, you have to stop the run, and you didn't stop the run against the Defenders, and at that point nothing really to coach here. Just put a safety in the box, for God's sakes, and stop it. Like, if Tierra King's in and it's like 2nd and goal from the 6, you know what's going to happen. Why do you drop like 6 defensive backs into like defending the goal line? He's going to scramble. Okay, don't play the end zone. You know what's going to happen. He's like 5'0". He's not going to throw over the heads of his offensive lines. I'm going to end zone fate. It's not going to happen. I don't understand it, but it is what it is. Hopefully we'll see him again in the North Championship, but for now, we're going to Vegas and we're beating your Vipers. Though, I'll say one thing I'm scared of, if you remember this. the last few years in the NFL, this is like a freaky coincidence, but it seems like whenever my Niners play your Falcons, recent history, the Niners have been great.
Yeah.
Falcons have been pretty bad.
Yeah.
Somehow the Falcons always pull an upset.
Yeah. Even when I pick the 49ers against my Falcons, they still pull it off somehow. So
They pull it off, and I do not want this to repeat in the XFL. So if your Vipers pull an upset against my Battlehawks, I will be slightly mad.
I mean,
let's hope.
You do have to look at the Battlehawks are kind of on a little bit of a slide here. They lost the 2 games to the Defenders, and you could say, yeah, that is the best team in the league. But the Vipers are coming off of a win against the worst team in the league, so I don't think it's going to happen. But momentum is something in the, well, I was going to say in the NFL, but the XFL and all of football. If you have that momentum, you can do things above your head, and you never know, but I would stick with the Battlehawks too.
It is, but it's one game, and it's still the second best and the second worst team in the league. So I'm not panicking. I'm not panicking just yet. Now, if they lose this week, might be time to panic, but I'm not doing it yet. Brahmas at the Renegades. This is a rematch from last week.
Yeah, and it wasn't a great game. It was kind of ugly. I mean, 12-10. This is Bob Stoops' power run, play defense type of team with Kyle Sloter not playing very well. But on the other side, Hines Ward's passing offense, Jack Cohn is extremely bad. Now I'm wondering if Reed Sinnett, or I think it's Sinnett, I think his name, however they said it. If he gets back in there, I would have more confidence in this team doing something, because Jack Cohn looked great in week 2 of the season, and ever since then he has been absolutely horrible. Apparently he can't throw the ball more than 12 to 15 yards. I don't know if he's secretly injured and they're not telling us about it, because the guy can't throw long to save his life. I don't get it. Any other bright spots on that team right now? Fred Brown, the wide receiver, he looked okay. But other than that, Kalen Ballage is not even their lead running back anymore. But they're not even running the ball, really. I guess they're playing catch-up in all these games, and they're refusing to run the ball anyway. I don't know. It's ugly. Kyle Sloter's not great either. Yeah, Sal Cannella, the bright spot of that team for sure. Even though this Arlington Renegades is 3-2, I don't feel confident about this team. And I would not be surprised if it goes the exact opposite. Now that we're in Arlington, the Brahmas could take this game, because these teams are both bad in my opinion. But I got to go with recent outcomes. I'm going to go with Arlington Renegades at home.
Yeah, this is a difficult one, and it's going to be a close one. I think I said last week it would be a low-scoring game, and it was that. And I'm glancing at the over/under here, and I wonder if you can guess it.
Oh man, over/under 21.
Oh, that's a bit low. 32 is the combined over.
I don't expect them to get to that.
I mean, that is like still a good 8 points below league average, because all the other ones are above 40. You're 42.5, 44.5, 41.5, and then 32.5. So
it was only
fest to be expected.
It was only 21 or 22 last week, so I don't expect a lot more scoring out of this game.
Nope. And I don't really know what to pick here. It's going to be a one-possession game. It could come down to who kicks and misses a field goal, or who completes a better conversion after touchdown. I'll take the Brahmas. For the only reason being is you picked Arlington.
Yeah.
I think I'll lead with your argument that you like to push sometimes. This is hard to beat the same team twice.
True.
In 1 year. I'm going to say it's even harder to beat them in back-to-back weeks, especially in the XFL when it's with these two teams when it's so volatile. So I'll take the Brahmas, take an easy shot at getting that point back from you. This is probably the best 50-50 opportunity to do it. So Brahmas. My head still says Renegades, because I know the defense is proven and is quality, and they'll make a stop when they need to, or even make a big play and take it away, or score when they need to. But Brahmas, just for the sake of getting my point back. And then we have maybe a glimpse of the potential XFL championship later this year. Roughnecks at the Defenders.
Yeah, that the Defenders is actually the reason I picked the Renegades, because I was like, well, they won 2 games in the same season against the Battlehawks, and they flipped sides and still got the win. So I'm assuming Arlington can do that also. The Houston Roughnecks are not as good as we all gave them credit for. I don't know if I actually gave them a ton of credit. I did say that Wade Phillips put together the best defense in the entire league, and there's still no doubt about that. They just ran into a buzzsaw last week, and it worked out in the Seattle's favor. Max Borghi is back. He looks good. Travell Harris, their number 1 wide receiver, made a phenomenal game out of that. On the other side, De'Aaron King is still coming in just to run the ball, and he is dang good at it. This is a hell of a running team. Abram Smith put on a display last week, unlike anything that you would you rarely see this in the NFL. It's like a Derrick Henry type game. I think he went... I need to bring up their stats here. I think he might have went over 200 yards. Let's pull up the Defenders. Abram Smith, 218 yards on 23 carries.
I think he scored a 70-yard touchdown on an outside zone where he was not even contacted by a defender.
Yeah, that's crazy. For a league like this where you usually don't get standout running backs like that, this is amazing what Abram Smith is doing. He may be in the NFL next year. Keep an eye on that. And if you're playing DFS, that's your man right there. Everybody wished they had that guy last week. Lucky Jackson is still the number 1 wide receiver on this team, and I love it. Reggie Barlow has put together the best team in the entire league, so there is no way I will be taking the Roughnecks. I will be taking the DC Defenders at home.
Yeah, see, this is surprisingly, the Defenders are playing at home. What if I told you they're favored by 2.5? Which means on a neutral field, it's a coin flip whether the Roughnecks get half a point on a neutral field.
The Roughnecks were just taking advantage of playing the weakest teams in the league.
And Defenders just swept the Battlehawks, who were supposed to be the second best team.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I would smash the Defenders on that.
I think I'm going to do that, and I'll pick them obviously to win as well. Like, you talk about Lucky Jackson. I feel like receiver is more like a supplementary role in that offense.
True.
So even the number 1 receiver on the Defenders is probably not a great asset in some contexts. But if the ground game works as it does, I guess what the odds makers are seeing here is a bad matchup, which is a heavily run-focused offense, and finally a defensive unit that'll be able to crack down on that. And when you end up forcing Tamu to throw the ball, which hasn't happened yet in the XFL this season, we know he can turn it over. We know that from USFL history from last year, where he was extremely mediocre because he was on a terrible team and he had to throw the ball 40 times a game. And if that's the situation that the Roughnecks can create, not allow big drives early on, keep the ball away from the defenders by running it themselves, I think they have a shot, and I think that's what they're speculating at. Other than that, I have no way to explain these odds. Is there some injury that we're not privy to? I have no idea, but I'll take the Defenders still until someone proves that they can stop the run game reliably, because man, it looked dominant at times, I have to say, against the Battlehawks, who are not like necessarily known for their defense, but man, they got pushed around. Like, they're just faster, moving left and right and north and south. It just looked bad. It looked like an Alabama playing like friggin' I don't know, the southern Mississippi Central like University for the Blind or something. I don't know. It looked bad. Yeah, Temple. That's how it felt sometimes, because it's untouched runs like Madden on easy mode. So I'll say Defenders get it done again against the Roughnecks as well. Hopefully we'll see the recipe.
Oh yeah.
Sorry?
Oh, I was saying I was surprised that Abram Smith didn't pull one of those Madden moves and go down to the end zone, turn, and run all the way across the field, then run back and run the entire perimeter to get like a 300-yard touchdown or something.
That's Tecmo Bowl, Bo Jackson. Yeah.
Exactly.
He could have done that because he was like faster than everyone else. He wouldn't have caught him.
Yeah, exactly.
It looked bad. But hopefully we'll see a recipe. I'm rooting for the Roughnecks because I want to see the recipe on how to stop this run. I want the other teams to see it. Right? I'm not a coach. To me, it's pretty clear. Stack the damn box. They're not throwing the ball, and if they throw the ball and they beat you by throwing it, so be it. But I want to see schematically how this run can be stopped. I want the Roughnecks to do it, and I think if that happens, that'll take some of the wind out of the sails of the defenders because suddenly everyone's going to stack the box and play those fits. We'll see. Maybe the quality in linebacker play just doesn't exist in this league. It's also possible. This is one thing I noticed. The most glaring difference in actual play that I've noticed between this and the NFL is actually the discipline in run fits on the defensive second level and linebackers. People being in their gaps from the linebacking core is a huge issue. And this is something that you see in like the sort of 5th, 6th, 7th round linebackers that get drafted to the NFL that have great athletic talent, but eye discipline is what scouts talk about so much. That's what I'm seeing here. Linebackers are getting out-leveraged by offensive linemen all the time. They're taking bad angles constantly. They're not fitting their runs. That's, to me, is the biggest difference defensively to the NFL level. And that's what was on display. If you want to ever see a textbook example of that, the Defenders Battlehawks game, week 5, was just a perfect showcase of exactly that. But we'll see if the Roughnecks can do it. I hope they do. How's the fantasy world looking?
Yeah, I will say if anybody can stop a running team, you would think it'd be Wade Phillips. I mean, he's from dang near from a period before the forward pass, so you would think he knows about stopping the run, but then again, he couldn't do it really against the Dragons either, so it is what it is. Last week was a phenomenal week for DFS, and the reason I say that is because Luis Perez was the number 1 quarterback. I love to see it. Everybody loves to see that, right? Luis Perez is really good. I try to tell everyone.
Love to see that? I don't know. That might be you.
Yeah. You might see it again against the Battlehawks this week, but
all right.
25.5 points. Guess who was number 1 at running back? There's no secret about this. It was Abram Smith.
Yeah, I think I had the displeasure of witnessing that live.
Yeah, exactly. 43.5 points. The highest scoring player in the entire league last week. Jeff Bidet, or Bidet, whatever you want to say, is third, or the number 1 wide receiver, and a third on this list. I mean, actually he's not third, because there is somebody that I've been trying to tell people about for weeks, and apparently they're not listening, but DraftKings is catching up on it, so we'll talk about that in a second. But Cody Latimer, the number 1 tight end in the entire XFL, scored 29.4 points for your team. You could have made a lineup with all 4 of these guys right here, and you would have took home the grand prize. There was no doubt about it. You want some value picks for this week coming up? You can play Luis Perez this week because they are playing the Battlehawks, and it could go bad. It really could. You got to be aware of that. But if this game does turn into a shootout, anything like it was against the Guardians, we could have something on our hands right here, and that lower price, I mean, it's $8,600, will set your lineup in other places where you can play an Abram Smith or something like that. As far as running back, if you can't play Abram Smith, I mean, I don't think he's going to do a 200-yard game every week, but you kind of want that security blanket because you know he's going to put up a lot. But Rod Smith or Jordan Lovett for Vegas is also really cheap options compared to Abram Smith. And like I said, if this game does get out of hand, that's going to be really good plays for a cheap price. The only wide receiver I could find that is of any value for really cheap is still Lucky Jackson, because the DraftKings hasn't caught up to the value of this guy yet. Probably because
they don't throw the ball.
Yeah, well,
they don't pass
but
the
when
ball.
they do, it's Lucky Jackson. I mean, and you can get value out of 5 receptions in a game with this team. Yeah, all you need is 1 touchdown, and that puts you right up at the top with the best wide receivers in the league. And as far as tight end, there are no value tight ends anymore, because there are only 2 tight ends that actually work in this league. That's Sal Cannella and Cody Lattimore. And they have figured it out that these guys are scoring more, in a lot of cases, more than the wide receivers. So they have marked them up. Sal Cannella is now $7,600. Cody Lattimore is $7,000. So you are not going to save anything by going with tight end. Now, I think Cody Lattimore is still going to score a bunch of points every week, but I don't know that he's valuable anymore. So you might as well, since they do flex spots, you might as well just go with a wide receiver this week. Try to take a shot on Lucky Jackson. You know, however it plays out, I can't really throw tight ends in there anymore. Cody Lattimore is still going to put up some bomb weeks going forward. It's just that $7,000 is not really worth it. Maybe we can find another tight end that'll blow up here in the rest of the season, but as for right now, stick with wide receivers.
I got one name to throw out as well, and it's just one of the very few bright spots from the Battlehawks, which is Hakeem Butler.
Yes,
I think he really stepped up this last game, and I think they'll go to him. They're going to rely on him, and they're going to have it in their game plan to get the ball in his hands. Because when he did, he was the only player with he was the only one making explosive plays against the defenders. You know, he looked a bit like a George Kittle, like catch the ball or run over a guy. It takes 3 people to tackle him. He wasn't going down. He was bringing energy into the place, and I think they will make it a point to feed him more in the upcoming games.
I hope so, because he's not a value, definitely not on DraftKings, but with 9 receptions, he's had 9 receptions twice this season, and this past one was 86 yards, and the first time he had 9 receptions was 105. He put up 17.6 points this past week, which is really good, and that is a winning lineup if you can get a few other guys that are performing that well. I don't like his price, though, but I do think he is one of the best receivers in the league. But if you find some values other places, you can throw Hakeem Butler in there. Yeah.
They got to start throwing him the ball in the end zone, because he's 6'6", right? He's a gritty, like, go for it, fight for the catch kind of receiver. I think hopefully they'll start targeting him in the end zone, especially if it's going to be a tight kind of gritty game, which it could very well be. That's the kind of player you want to rely on. To me, that's who I want to get the ball. He is the guy I want in a featured role this week in the offense to get the spirit back into this team.
They might. Yeah, I mean, they've got a really weak defense they're going against, so this will be the spot to do it.
Throw it up. Let him fight for it. That's how I want to see it. I'm betting on the defenders here. $20 on DC. -2.5. Doesn't make sense to me. But knowing my luck, that probably means they lose. Which I wouldn't even mind, because then at least I know how to stop the run a little bit if the Roughnecks get it done. But 2.5 seems too good to not take advantage of. Renegades are favored by more than defenders.
Oh, wow, really? Yeah. I mean, I guess coming off that win, you would think, but both of those teams are bad. Those offenses, neither one are great outside of Sal Cannella and Fred Brown, but yeah. That's an ugly
People still
game.
really like the Roughnecks, I suppose.
I think so. I mean, like I said, they took advantage of really weak teams in the first few weeks of the season, and now that they are playing I think they're going to get exposed. I mean, I like Wade Phillips. I think he knows how to put together a defense, but that offense is not where it should be. That offense does not compete with A.J. McCarron's over the Battlehawks or Ben DiNucci or who else we got? Even Luis Perez. I mean, I think that offense can be better than the Roughnecks offense. It's just that they have a great defense and they played the weakest teams in the league. So now that they're running the gauntlet, they're going to get exposed, in my opinion.
So you're saying not just a one-score game, like this is going to be nearly a blowout, a clear domination?
I mean, it's tough to say that because the defense is that good. If they can run the ball, if they can run the ball like they did on the Battlehawks, yes, absolutely. Because they're not going to be able to score. The Roughnecks can't keep up in a shootout. I don't think Brandon Silvers is built like that. And Max Borghi is a decent running back, but he's not busting 7-yard runs off anywhere. He's decent.
No, the team isn't built like that.
That offense can't operate like that.
It's like the Philadelphia
if
Eagles
they get out of
NFL, right?
they get out of hand, it could
once
be
the
a
Chiefs
blowout.
start going off in the second half of the Super Bowl and they start scoring on their possessions.
If they can run the ball on
that team is not
going
built
to
to keep up in that kind of shootout. So I think you're completely correct about that. Do you want to do power rankings? Do you want to start for this week? Do you have anything?
There you are.
Hey, there we go. Sorry, I think you dropped out for a bit.
Oh, yeah. I still have it running.
Okay, I was talking about power rankings. Do you want to start?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'll give you my power rankings here. Haven't really wrote any out this week, but I can run right through them. Guardians are still dead last until they win a game. They have to remain. And then the Vegas Vipers are still at number 7. Even though they have the opportunity to move up, it's just too tough a division. I don't know. You know what? I may flip-flop them with the Brahmas. Because I think the Vipers have a much better offense than the Brahmas. I like Hines Ward, of course. But until they get their quarterback situation figured out, I'm putting the Brahmas at number 7 and the Vipers at number 6. Now the Arlington Renegades come in next. I want to throw the Houston Roughnecks down a little bit. I'm kind of torn on whether I should put the Sea Dragons there or not. You know what? I think I will. I'm putting the Houston Roughnecks, then the Seattle Sea Dragons, then the St. Louis Battlehawks, and number 1 will be the DC Defenders.
Wow, that's a clear distinction between divisions there. You're saying the South is just bad.
They are. Yeah.
They are largely bad. I'm gonna agree with most of you. Actually, I like the flip-flop you did with the Brahmas and Vipers. I'll take the Vipers ahead of the Brahmas as well, 6 and 7. Can't quite put the Roughnecks that low. They've lost one game. If they get blown out like you're predicting, okay, sure, next week, I'll put them at 4. For now, keep them at number 2. Dragons, Battlehawks, Roughnecks, Defenders. And by the way, I've already figured out how I can get the Battlehawks to be at number 1 again in just 2 weeks. And you can follow the plan here. So Roughnecks beat the Defenders. Next week, the Roughnecks happen to play the Battlehawks. Battlehawks beat the Roughnecks, a team that beat the Defenders, while the Defenders lose in Week 7 at Orlando. And the St. Louis Battlehawks are number 1 in the power rankings again.
Wow.
There it is.
That's a lot that has to go right. A lot of dominoes to fall in the right place.
Bit of a stretch, I will admit. But we will hope for the best. Because I need the AJ McCarron MVP campaign to pick back up as well.
Mm-hmm. No, I think
for
the Battlehawks, I'd be afraid of the Dragons right now. That's the only thing. Because you just need to make it to the playoffs. If you make it to the playoffs, you got a fighting chance. But if
you get shot.
The Sea Dragons pass you, then you're in trouble.
That's true. We play them in Week 9. Seattle still has to play the Defenders first, which is happening the week after next. So that's going to be the rare case where I'm rooting for the Defenders, I guess. And I think, I'm still confident, still believing in AJ McCarron. But it's going to come down to Week 9. I mean, you have to beat Seattle directly, head to head. It's that way in the NFL every year, and it's that way in the XFL now too, I guess.
Your team has to beat Seattle.
Yeah. My team has to beat Seattle, otherwise that's the only way I'm happy, if they beat Seattle. Absolutely.
I told you were going to end up hating Seattle. I told you Week 1 that you're going to end up hating Seattle.
I didn't know they were going to be rivals. I mean, I hate the Defenders more. I hate the Defenders more than Seattle at the moment.
Is that your Cowboys?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're the Cowboys.
Okay.
They have the star in the logo and the C. They are definitely.
They are. They are America's
like
team.
Dallas Cowboys, and and they're in the capital city. No. There's too many parallels.
Yeah.
Defenders are the Cowboys. The Sea Dragons are like the Seahawks. The
Oh.
Vipers are also like the Raiders in the sense that we like to make fun of them.
Yeah, true. And the Guardians, who was that? Who was the worst team in the NFL this past year?
The Browns, except in 2019.
Yeah.
Like the Guardians are the Browns' entire history.
No, you're just dooming them to a below mediocrity forever.
Man. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Well, at least they have survived the LA Wildcats. Rest in peace. They're not the first team to get yoinked out of the XFL. So we'll see how that goes. I think they're gonna win a game though. They will win a game this year.
Oh, the Brahmas are the Texans.
Yeah, they are. Oh, it's the bullhead. Yeah. The logo. They're kind of underperforming.
And they're not actually far distance-wise from where the Texans are, so...
They are the Texans.
Mm-hmm.
They can match nearly all of these.
Yeah, definitely.
Might have to be a separate video. Match every XFL team to an NFL team.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got most of them already. Alright, do you have anything to add for this week?
No, I think that's it for this week.
Cool, then drop us your picks for all the games. Your MVP pick at the moment. Maybe a little bit controversial now. I'm not sure who's a clear favorite. And if you have any idea to explain this spread of 2.5 defenders being favored by only 2.5, after what happened last week in both those games, please feel free to try and explain. I don't get it, but I would love to know. My money's already on the defenders, so I can't take it back anyway, but still love to hear it. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Deuces.
Check the scoreboard, ha, check.